Just like life itself, this is a story of light and darkness. It is the story how I found one of the best homes for the light and darkness dragon. It is a story that started with the Carpath video and the 60-card decklist and ended with Geartowns, Machina fortresses, and more. But it's also the story of the creator of this deck. It is also my story. Hi, my name is Janis and I'm from Germany, and thank you all so much for 100 subs. I know as a viewer this probably doesn't sound like too much, but as a creator that just started, I couldn't be happier. So thank you all. I'll keep up the schedule, I keep up the content, I will provide you new deck ideas, educational content and so on. And I hope you have fun with my videos, and let's get into this one. So the year was 2023. Some friends of mine had just asked me if I wanted to play Edison with them because they heard, they played Yu-Gi-Oh! Like myself back in the school days, and they heard there was a new retro format, gaining momentum, which wasn't as crazy as Gold format with all the not banned cards, I should say. So we did just that. We all looked up some deck lists, got this battle simulator, and had some duels. Do you still remember your first deck that you ever played in Edison? Not built, but played. For me, I believe it was Zombies. That's where it started. Honestly, the first few games, I was a bit overwhelmed with synchro summoning because that was new to me. And if you have options to make like 3, 4 level 6 or and some level 8s, I don't know, and you have to decide and you have to read all them. So synchro summoning was something I needed to learn, but honestly in Edison you get a hang of it after a few games. So we had some duels, had some fun, and I was immediately intrigued. I really loved the format. It was love on the first glance. So I started to look up stuff on YouTube, and what I found there was a video from Carpath where he showcased a deck that immediately intrigued me. Because not only was it one of the rare decks that played intentionally more than 40 cards, in fact it played 60 cards, it was also a monster mash deck. And the reason it played 60 cards was because it was filled with battle recruiters. And so the idea was, if you play 60 cards, the chances of having 2 of the same battle recruiter in hand get lowered down significantly. So that was the reason. So I was intrigued by this idea. I tried to build something myself. I bought some of these, like the concept is still going. I'm still working on something. It's resting right now, but battle recruiters. Let me show you some. Is something I might build in paper as well. But a different version than what it started with. Because at the beginning, I was trying to use them to swarm the field and summon level 8s. To summon big level 8 monsters. And as you might expect, that wasn't really sustainable. Like one of my friends, he was a bit better because he had some experience with competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And he would just not attack these battle recruiters. He would use destruction effects and so on, and he would completely deny me. And even if the strategy was working out, like tribute summoning a level 8, going -2, the payoff is usually not worth it. So but I still love the idea of playing these big boss monsters, like these big level 8s. So next up I tried summoning them with Mausoleum, Starblast and so on. And then it kind of hit me, because there are 2 level 8s that have kind of nice synergy with playing more level 8s and also ditching them with trade-ins and stuff. And the first one I already showed you, it's the Light and Darkness Dragon. And the second one, because the Light and Darkness Dragon, for those of you who don't know, like I think everyone knows the negating effect, but I think the second effect gets sometimes a bit forgotten, that if it gets destroyed, he blows up your field and then he revives something from your grave. So if you have a level 8 engrave that you can revive, that's pretty cool. And the second level 8 is also able to revive anything from graveyard once per turn. By discarding a card, we have the creator basically turning every card in your hand into Monster Reborn, which is pretty good. Like, the only downside with this guy is this abysmal attack stat. Like, being run over by monarchs, that's such a bad thing. Also, these two can special summon each other, but I think that's fine. So yeah, level 8 it was. And yeah, then I watched another Carpuff video, and it was the KFC build. I'm sure a lot of people know what this deck is. For those of you who don't know, it makes use of Kurus, Geartown, and Cat. And then you pop the Geartown with Kurus, and then you draw, and then you summon ancient Gajillion dragons. So yeah, Geartowns was something that also immediately piqued my interest, because I was like, hey, they are playing level 8s and they're playing field spells. I'm playing field spells. I'm playing level 8s. I should play this. So I did. And that was the birth of the main concept of my deck. It revolved. Yeah, it was an evolution since then. But yeah, this is where it started. And this deck was, sometimes it was really crazy, because sometimes you would trade in a Titanial and then trade in something else, and you draw into all these terraformings and field spells, and you set all your Geartowns, activate Mausoleum, 3-bit summon the creator, use the effect, get back a Titanial from grave or Christia, and end up on a board with 5 level 8s. So yeah, that was really spooky. The only problem was it was a bit inconsistent. And then I played with my friend who was a bit more experienced, and he was playing Machina. In hindsight, a great meta call from him, because Machina Gadgets he played, because both Machina and Gadgets became meta sometime after. He was missing the Horn of Heaven, which made the Gadgets really good, but despite that, he was always like, yeah, just something I quickly assembled, but nothing too good, nothing too crazy, not optimized. But I had struggled with this deck, and part of that was because this guy, he's such a good boss monster. And gear frame, let me see if I can show you a gear frame. I can show you a gear frame. This one is also really, really good. Like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, Machina Fortress, it revives itself when you can pitch a level 8 machine. And my deck is already playing these Gajillion dragons now. So I should add that engine, because before I was on, like, my normal summons were stuff like Dandy and Raikou and even a Magical Merchant to make it a bit more consistent, but it wasn't really working out. So I was like, okay, cut that crap. We are playing the Machina engine. And so yeah, this is how my deck came together. So story time is over. Let's talk about the deck list. Okay, I've already shown you Light and Darkness Dragons. We're still playing 2. I started with 3. I also started with the creator, and you can still play the creator in this deck, but I've cut it because, yeah, it needs some like, if in your starting hand, if you if you don't have a level 8 engrave, it isn't even that good. And yeah, so yeah, the creator, he allows for some extreme sack potential, but for consistency reasons, I cut the creator, but you could still sneak one back in. But yeah, for now, 2 of them, they are still in the deck. Expensive card as a common, and it's one of the most expensive cards in my deck. Yeah, then as I already said, we're playing Ancient Gajillion Dragons 3. I know some decks only play 2, but I'm convinced that in this deck 3 is the best, because we're also playing Tradens, as you will see in a second. We're playing Machina Fortress, so you can always pitch this guy, and he's barely ever dead in your hand. Like, Once you have one Machina Fortress in hand, it's a free monster reborn for this boss monster, and yeah, as I said, trade in as well. And then we also have the option, like sometimes we want to summon out 3 in a turn with multiple Geartowns. So yeah, I don't see, I haven't had any issues with 3 gajillion dragons. And yeah, speaking of the card we are pitching this to, Machina Fortress, of course. I'm a bit embarrassed because this one is so common. I ordered 3 secret rares, but I couldn't find the third one. Like, I must have lost it. I'm so mad about that. But the third one was in German and the other 2s are in English, and I wanted to have a fitting playset anyway, so else I have to buy the third English one. Yeah, Machina Fortress, amazing boss monster, does so much. Special summons itself. If it gets targeted by an effect, you get to discard any card from your opponent's hand, which is really, really strong. Like, just any card and see in your opponent's hand. And so yeah, that's really strong. Also, if it gets run over, you get free spot removal. Yeah, this card, it just does it all. So really good. One card that is also only there to revive the Fortress is, yeah, the Machina Force. Gotta play at least one. I'm only playing one. I was on 2 to have more targets for Gearframe, but I realized, like, this deck, it got a lot more consistent since the starting point, but it is still a bit inconsistent. So yeah, for consistency reasons, I don't want it. If you draw 2 Machina Force without Fortress access, that's always so bad. So yeah, I'm down to 1. But I play other cards that you can pitch to for Fortress. Other level 8s. This one, sometimes you just tribute summon it under Geartown. It just needs 1 tribute. But yeah, you can also summon this Mausoleum, which we play. But yeah, most of the time it gets pitched to trade in or Fortress, and that's totally fine. That's what it's there for. Like, that's its job. But sometimes it hits the field, and then the trap flow is really good. Yeah, if you attack into like a Spirit Reaper or stuff like that, can put your opponent under a lot of pressure. And since this deck can go really fast, like I said, you can swarm the field with Gigajillion dragons a lot of times and Machina Fortresses and stuff. You often can deal a lot of damage, and maybe this 1 piercing damage is the damage that you need to win the game. And then we've played 2 more level 8 machines. Do you have any idea what these could be? Take a wild guess. Let me know in the comments if you can guess it. 3, 2, 1. And we are playing Perfect Machine King. Also really expensive card. Okay, it's not that. It's not like a Morill's expensive, but for an Edison card, which is usually a cheap format, you have to pay $1 for these. Yeah, the reason for us playing this one over Ancient Gear Golem is 2 reasons. First off, the Ancient Gear Golem can't be special summoned, so it's not a valid target for Light and Darkness Dragon, and I wanted some more cards that I can, that I get, like, if I have a trade in turn 1 and then I want to make a Light and Darkness Dragon, that I already have a target for the destruction effect and the reviving effect in Graveyard. And the second effect is that sometimes this deck can struggle with 3k attack lines or defense lines. Like, in an earlier version, when I was starting with this deck, someone summoned an Ancient Fairy Dragon on me, and I wasn't able to out that. So yeah, I'm a bit emotionally scarred from that experience, because that felt so bad. So yeah, this guy, he gains attack for every machine on the field. 1 machine on the field, he's at 3,200. So yeah, allows you to hit over Ancient Fairy Dragon, over Golems. Because these cards, they can mean trouble to you. So yeah, that's just an extra option. Especially if your opponent is stalling on Ancient Fairy Dragon. Yeah, you get a shot to, like, you probably have some more turns, like if they're stalling and gathering resources. Yeah. Okay. now we get to the normal summons. Staying with Ancient Gears, I'm only on one of these boys. A reason being is that, yeah, you can pitch it to Fortress, but only if you have the Fortress in hand. And then it's not, other than that, if you have a Geartown, it's cool because you can normal summon it. If you don't have a Geartown, it can be another brick in your hand. And yeah, like I said, I wanted to reduce the amount of bricking as much as possible. With that being said, one of these, like if you can summon this, like turn 1, turn 2, it is really strong because it's so ignorant. Your opponent has the monster set, he just runs it over. Like if it's a debris dragon, then it's the only scenario. But Hamster, Baiko, Dandelion, Plague Spreader, Vayu, like there's so Amaryllis, okay, Amaryllis not a set monster, but Amaryllis as well. And Battle Recruiters, like yeah, this guy just does it all. So yeah, one of them I would still wanted to play. And spoiler alert, the second one is in the side. Yeah, then probably the best normal summon in this deck. 3 of these, no question asked. Gotta play 3 of them. Get to your Machina Fortress. Yeah, that's the main reason. Force if you have a Fortress in grave already. And then my other normal summons, I think they are a bit interesting. I experimented with a lot of options at the moment, and this might change, but Cyber Phoenix kind of feels interesting in this deck. Because what it does, for those of you who don't know, it's first of all, it's a machine, can always be pitched with Fortress in hand. But that's not all what it does, because if it gets run over, it replaces itself. It's a draw 1 if it gets run over by battle. And then also, when it's in attack position, your opponent cannot target machines with spell and trap card effects. So it can sometimes ensure that your Machina Fortress is safe from Deep Prison, Raigeki Break, and yeah, all that stuff. Smashing Grounds, like okay, yeah, they can run over the Phoenix, but they have to do that first. So yeah, for that reason, I opted to play one of these as my normal summons. And then I'm also on this because this deck doesn't really play too many normal summons, so having a card that comes back to your hand, and because the downside on Mold is that it always needs your normal summon. If you wanna, like, yeah, it comes back to your hand and you have to normal summon it again. But with being so normal summon light in this deck, that's not really an issue. And then I have 2 more normal summons, which are also really, really good in this deck. And these are 2 Breakers. Because Breaker, not only does he, like you can summon a Breaker, hop their back row, and then safely special summon your Fortress, because Fortress really doesn't like to get bottomless or be deprisoned or stuff like that. So yeah, Magical Breaker helps with that, but Magical Breaker also can be used on, and now we're getting into the spell lineup, he can be used to pop your own Geartown. Like sometimes you only have one of the Geartowns and you really want to have this big guy out on the field. Maybe your opponent made a Stardust Dragon. And okay, that's a bad example because he can negate the Breaker. Your opponent made a Titania, I don't know, something like that. Or they have a Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon and you want to run it over with a Gigajillion Dragon. So yeah, you can use your Breaker to to pop the Geartown. 3 Geartowns, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Geartowns, for those of you who don't know, if this gets destroyed, it's a when effect. When this gets destroyed, you can special summon a Gigajillion Dragon. So yeah, and you can set, like if you have one Geartown and you set one over it, it gets destroyed in Edison. So that's your main way of accessing the power of Geartown. We play 2 more field spell cards. Mausoleum, because we play all these level 8s, especially for the Light and Darkness Dragon, but sometimes we also summon the machines. I really like the lightning effect here. Hope you can see it somewhat. So yeah, that's always, this is the best field spell in my opinion to play in this deck. Like, it kind of defines this deck. We wouldn't be able to play all these level 8s without Mausoleum. and we wouldn't be able to play Light and Darkest Dragon without it. And then with the field spell cards, of course, you gotta play this one. Tree of Terraforming. Can you see the effect on it? Yeah. Search your field spells. I think that's only reasonable. Also with all these level 8s, playing 3 trade-ins. And trade-ins, I know they're a bit questionable because you won't be doing too much with your level 8s in Grave other than reviving them of Light and Darkness Dragon. But I believe in a Geartown deck, because it's a combo deck and your Geartowns are best when you draw multiples of them. You really need something to draw more. And this is a draw 2. So lets you dig 2 cards deeper into your deck. So that's the reason I'm playing 3 trade-ins. Sometimes I side one out. Usually in matchups where I side out a Light and Darkness Dragon or even 2. Because Light and Darkness Dragon in some matchups he isn't that good, because some decks they have cards that can pop the Light and Darkness Dragon alone. But even then, game 1, like if they pop it just with 1 card, with 1 cyber value or something like that, you still get the revival effect. So yeah, Light and Darkness Dragon in this deck, even if the negate effect doesn't work out, it's still good. Okay, then also with all the special summoning of big machines and Ancient Gajillion Dragon, Ancient Gear Golem, they are really scary in the battle phase because they ignore battle traps, like your opponent can't activate them. So yeah, gotta play one of these limiter removal. Really spooky card, puts your opponent under a lot of pressure, like they know you have it and they lost some life points. They are always like, yeah, you don't need many cards to OTK them, or to finish them off from like 6,000, 5,000 or something. Ancient Gigajillion Dragon, 6,000 attack with 1 limiter removal. Also, there's a nice synergy with Gearframe, because Gearframe's second effect, where he equips himself to something, this prevents from destruction. So you can go for the big push, and when your opponent has something unexpected, like maybe you wanted to risk it because you're like, yeah, if they have Gores, it doesn't work out, but if they don't have Gores, I win turn 2 on my first turn. So you go for the push, and then they have Gores, and you're like, damn, now I'm losing half my board. But you can use the gear frame to protect something. And so yes, you sometimes can go for these a bit more risky game shots and still kind of come out relatively well, even if your opponent has interaction that you hope they didn't have. Okay, next 2 spell cards, staples as well. Gotta play these. Heavy Storm and Mystical Space Typhoon. Heavy Storm especially is, like, this card's already a staple and really, really good. But in this deck, it's just incredible, because you blow up your opponent's back row and you can set a Geartown beforehand and then pop your own Geartown with it. So what it does is, yeah, it kind of transforms 1 card in your hand, the Geartown, into a special summon Gigajillion Dragon and clears the back row before, so it doesn't get bottomless or stuff. So yeah, Heavy Storm, it's a must play. Like sometimes in top deck situations, if your opponent is weak, already down, and you just need to finish him, you don't even have to blow up their back row. Just blow up your own Geartown with it and go for game. Same with Space Typhoon. Sometimes you want to use that on your own Geartown, sometimes in the battle phase. Also, a little fun trick you can do with this card is, if your opponent has a back row and you don't really expect, like if you see they are only on like chainables and you are like, okay, my Mystical Space Typhoon is kind of dead in this matchup, you can attack with the Ancient Gear cards, and then your opponent can't activate spells and traps until the battle is over. So you're like, yeah, I'm attacking with Gigajillion Dragon, and while I'm attacking, I'm activating this. And even if they have something like Reckless Greed, a Legacy of Yatagarasu, or a Raigeki Breaker, whatever, chainable, they can't activate it. So you get to pop it. So yeah, that's it doesn't come up that often, but it's something like a little trick I learned while practicing and learning this deck, which is pretty neat. And then we have 3 more spell cards that kind of replace some trap cards, like our trap count is really low, as you will see in a second. And we are on, start with these 2, we are on Book of Moons, because Book of Moons, they are so flexible, they just do it all. Yeah, you can, like I said, Golems that you can't run over, put it in defense. Also called Cataster. Put it face down, and then you can run it over, because Cataster, you don't have dark, so that can be an annoying card to deal with. You can, if your opponent wants to go with combos, summoning tuners, you can flip them face down to deny them that synchro plays. Yeah, you can do so much stuff with that. And then also you can protect your own cards. Like I said, Fortress doesn't really like getting banished by Bottomless or by Deep Prison. Book of Moon can protect the Fortress, it can protect from Mirror Force. And then, even though the Fortress doesn't have that much defense, so your opponent could run it over, but like if you attack with Fortress, they flip Deep Prison, you flip Book of Moon, so yeah, they lose the Deep Prison, you lose the Book of Moon, and then they run over your Fortress. But yeah, you get the spot removal, so it's another equal trade. They don't gain card advantage, and then Fortress, if you have a level 8 machine in your hand and we play a bunch of them, just comes back. So yeah. And especially when you simplify the game state, when both of you get down on resources, this deck can be kind of scary in top deck situations, because every level 8 machine will just revive Fortress and you got your boss monster back. So yeah, I think for this alone, Book of Moon, and yeah, Book of Moon, it has a lot of applications. And then another card which is also really flexible is this one. It's a 1 Forbidden Chalice. Yeah, first off, you can, like, for those of you who don't even know what this does, you target one card, in one monster, increase its attack by 400, and then also negate its effects for the rest of the turn. So you can use this to deny them a Straddle Surge, or, I don't know, a Chaos, you can shut that off, or Raikou Hamster, you can even, and this makes this card really special, you can even activate this when you are attacking a face-down monster, because this one increases attack, and that's the reason it can't be activated in the damage step. So yeah, sometimes you're pushing for an OTK, but your opponent has a hamster set, and then the hamster special summons a Raikou, and the Raikou can pop something, and you're like, damn, now I don't get to OTK them. But yeah, this one, use it on the hamster, deny the hamster, and do your OTK stuff. And then also, another reason I went for, like, it's also good against dupe block, it's good. This one also, good against dupe block, really important. Good against dupe block, it can help with Cataster, like, yeah, there are a lot of use cases for it. And I forget what I wanted to say. Also, yeah. It also allows you to run over Ancient Fairy Dragon, Golems, or anything like that. Big attack stuff like this, extra 400 AK, it comes up. It does come up. And then the last reason we're playing these 3 is because they have really broken synergy with the Light and Darkness Dragon. Like, once I get one Fortress Engrave, or a Gilgajillion Dragon that I pitch with Trade-in, and then you Mausoleum Light and Darkness Dragon, set one book or one of these, and that's oftentimes that's game itself, because your opponent, they usually need to spend like 2 or 3 resources for the Light and Darkness Dragon. Let's say they only need 2, and then they are like, okay, but now I can run over it, and you go, nope. Yeah, I'll use that on my Light and Darkness, and you gotta watch out, because it will get negated by Light and Darkness Dragon, so you kind of have to chain it on their last action that you want to use on Light and Darkness Dragon, because Light and Darkness Dragon can only negate once per chain. But if you manage to do that, you just reset your Light and Darkness Dragon. And if they can't clear it immediately in the case of Forbidden Shadows, they have to do it all over. And they probably use their best cards to defeat Light and Darkness Dragon for their first attempt. So yeah, then they have to do it a second time. And usually, if they manage to beat it twice, it costs them all their resources. And then Light and Darkness Dragon is like, okay, now I blow up, and you usually leave your field empty. Now I blow up the rest of the field, and then I special summon an Ancient Gear Gajillion Dragon, and your opponent... Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been on the other side, but I imagine it's just like, fuck. I spent all these resources, emptied all my hand, and now it even brings back, like, can I replace it itself with another scary monster? Yeah, this interaction alone has won me too many games. And one last trick I'm thinking of is Light and Darkness Dragon blows up your board, and you can use that. Like, sometimes you don't want to commit too many cards, but if you have like a Machina Fortress before, and you equip it with the Gear Frame, you have to do this before you special summon LED, because otherwise the LED would negate the Gear Frame effect. Yeah, then when your LED gets destroyed, it will blow up your board, but Gear Frame will protect the fortress from popping off, so you even get to keep one card. So that's another thing you can do with this deck. And yeah, last but not least, the trap lineup. Like I said before, I'm only on 3 traps here. And these are these two because they're broken. Like, having them alone is, yeah, is really, in my opinion, is very important. Especially this deck can play, like this deck can go for OTKs, play really fast, but it can also really good play like the mid-range game. It probably, like, you won't win the grind game against, let's say, Frogs. You might do game 2, because if you see the sideboard, that's where the really nasty stuff is happening. But yeah, the grind game of this deck is really, really good. And so yeah, Transient Tribute, Mirror Force stops your opponent from overcommitting to the board. Like, once they realize you don't have it, they are like free to swarm the board, overcommit all they want, because it's not really an overcommitment no more, because if we don't have board wipes, what stops them from swarming the field? So yeah, these two, yeah, really good cards, so I play them. And then the last card is Imperial Iron Wall. Sorry, I had to think of the English name. And Imperial Iron Wall protects your fortress from getting banished, because fortress hates getting banished. And it's also like, if you think about it, name me one matchup. I think the only matchup, and even that is not, it's only partially true, is the Light Swan matchup that doesn't banish. But all the other matchups, they are all banishing. Like, think about it. Everything with heroes, they will use Miracle Fusion. Usually Frog heroes, they also use Chaos. Chaos, most played monster. Can't banish. Bottomless, Deep Prison, so decks that play a lot of traps, can't banish. Then Bayou, yeah, the main strategy of Bayou is banishing. All these dark decks, Dark Armed Dragon, banishes. Necro Gardener, banishes. Like Amaryllis, plant decks, they banish. So yeah, this card, in most matchups, you won't regret having it, even in the main. So yeah, Imperial Iron Wall. But you could argue for it to be the side. Like, one last reason I have it in the main is because, ironically, one of the more obscure matchups, which is really tricky for this deck, is against Macrocosm. Because under Macrocosm, your Geartowns don't hit the graveyard, and then they don't activate, so you don't get to special summon the Gigajillion Dragons. Your fortress doesn't hit the graveyard, so it doesn't can't come back. So yeah, this is a really, really, really annoying matchup. And I believe even, like, is the fortress? Yeah, right. The spot removal from fortress is only when it hits the graveyard as well. So yeah, that matchup is really annoying. So I wanted to have something just for that. And like, don't get me wrong, Imperial Iron Wall, it is there for all the relevant matchups as well. But if we ever run into a Macrocosm deck, we have something nasty for them in the main. And spoiler alert, we have something, another copy of that in the side as well. Extra deck, can just need these to, if your opponent ever leaves a Cyber Dragon in play, you want to be able to, like, you have all the room in your extra deck anyway. Don't play tuners, don't play anything to steal tuners, so you will not be synchro summoning. Fill your extra deck with 12 more synchro summons, the choice is yours. Or fusion, like, just fill it so your opponent doesn't know that you don't really use your extra deck. And then as long as you have 1, 2, or 3 of these guys, you're good to go. And now we're getting into the side deck. Okay, side deck is really, really evil. 4 cards make this, like, the reason, in my opinion, this deck is so good is because you can side in these. Skill Drain is really good against a lot of decks, like Monarchs, Frogs in general. What are they gonna do without their effects? Then what else? Gladiator Beasts, Bio, Turbo, Light Swans, like a lot of decks can't play under Skill Drain at all. So yeah, and you can, like, you special summon your Fortress from the graveyard. Still gets the, like, if it gets run over by battle, it still gets the popping effect because that doesn't have Accurate on the field. Gajillion Dragons, okay, sure, they lose the ability to stop battle traps, but I think that's kind of fine because while this effect is not bad, it's also not what makes the Gajillion Dragons that good. And yeah, you're still summoning all these big boss monsters. You're still tribute summoning, not tribute summoning, but summoning with Mausoleum, is what I mean. And sometimes, like, this can also reset a Light and Darkness Dragon. Like, yeah, sure, the Light and Darkness Dragon, it will lose the ability to negate after that. But yeah, if you played the Light and Darkness Dragon, depleted some of the resources, and now you want to run it over, but you're just like, nope, now it goes back to 2800 attack. Yeah, right. So yeah, Skill Drain, really, really broken card. And as I said, also really good in the Gladiator Beast matchup. A matchup where I not only side 2 Skill Drains, but 2 of these Royal Decree, because that's something that Gladiator Beasts hate a lot as well. Yeah, Royal Decree, shut down all your opponent's trap cards. Good against Black Wings, good against, like, every deck that plays a lot of trap cards. Yeah. Also, when you play against Machina Control, these are really, really good against them as well. Because yeah, this deck plays a lot of traps. This deck plays Raikou, Hamster, Caius, which all get turned off by Skill Drain. So yeah, these floodgates, and the reason that's because we only played 3 trap cards, the reason that you can play them so well is what makes this deck really strong. And also I really like this because it helps you to push your OTK lines. Yeah, really good cards. Then we play some more floodgates. We play 1 more copy of this. I thought about, yeah, only playing 1 Imperial Iron Wall. Maybe in the main, maybe in the side. Because, yeah, it's, like I said, Macrocosm is a really, really tough matchup, and I want to have 2 of them for that matchup alone, but that matchup is really obscure. And then in other matchups, I think 1 is usually enough. Like, because if you have 1 and so, you draw another one, the other one is a brick until the first one gets destroyed. But usually when your opponent can destroy them, they go for their place immediately anyway. So yeah, and they're like, yeah, now I use all my banishing and I don't care about your second Iron Wall. So yeah, maybe I want to make more space in the side because you have so many great side deck options. Another floodgate, maybe you should play 2 of these instead, as Mask of Restrict, really good against Frogs, really good against Monarchs, really good against Gigavise. like, yeah, tributing. There are a lot of decks that are using the tribute mechanic. And then it's not in my side deck yet, but on doing books, I dabbled with the idea of Prohibition. And because dropping Floodgates on them and then calling like Heavy Storm can be really good. And Prohibition, I think that card is really underutilized. Prohibition, first of all, you can call it Cyber Dragon, which is the biggest threat game 2 and game 3. You can also, like, a lot of decks, they rely like Light Swans, they really rely on the Light and Darkness Dragon. Then, yeah, Gigavise, call the Gigavise, call the Gigaplan, call the Supervise or stuff like that. Call the Vayu in the Vayu Turbo matchup, call, I don't know, Miracle Fusion against Heroes. Like, there are a lot of decks that really depend on one monster, or you can against Dark Gaia. Like in rogue matchups, they oftentimes focus on one card as well. Amaryllis, call the Amaryllis. So yeah, that can be a really good card. Also, if you're going for game, you can call Gors, sometimes Battle Fader, if that's what you're more afraid of. And yeah, you can also do some really nasty stuff, like against Light Swans, flip a Skill Drain on them, and then if they milled an MST or a Heavy Storm, if you already know that card is in the grave, like if they milled the, I don't know, the Mystical Space Typhoon, you call Heavy Storm, and what are they going to do? Like, your Skill Drain, that's staying there, and they can't destroy it. Like, even if they get to the Heavy Storm, you can't use it. So yeah, combination of Floodgates and Prohibition, really broken. So I maybe make some room in the side deck to play that. For now, what else am I playing? I'm playing Proof of Powerlessness. I think this might be one of the only cards that can really consider playing this deck, because we special summon these big level 7 and higher monsters all the time, and then Proof of Powerlessness, when you control a level 7 or higher monster, you can destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field that are level 5 or lower. So you can blow up a Duplock, you can blow up, I don't know if they set up something with dandy tokens and stuff like that, you can blow that up. You can use it when your opponent wants to go for synchro plays with, I don't know, Diva or stuff like that. And you can stop a Cyber Dragon, which makes this card also really good. Kind of makes me want to play 2 of them as well, but as I said, space in the side deck is really tight. Another card that also can protect from Cyber Dragon is this Solemn Judgment. When I first built this card, I was more relying on the Mausoleum, and I was more using the fact to pay life points. I was like, I can't really afford to pay that much life points. But now that I've kind of gotten away from this style of play, and I still use the Mausoleum like every other game, but oftentimes I'm not really reliant on it. So yeah, Solemn Judgment, stop their big plays. Also, you can back up your OTK pushes, and you can deny them with Cyber Dragon. It's a big price to play, but yeah, Cyber Dragon, if you overcommitted onto your board, is really, yeah, the bane of all machine decks. This for game 2, because yeah, if you're going on game 2, if you're going second, you can side this in. Yeah, broken card, might catch a Cyber Dragon. And then the last trap is for Graveyard Hate. It's chainable if your opponent wants to go for like Pot of Avarice, or I don't know, if they want to crow your... No, that doesn't work. Yeah, if against Light Swans, you can deny them a Judgment Dragon at times. You can shuffle back both 3-bond Frogs, which makes it better than Crow. That's why I was thinking about Crow. So yeah, and then another card for Graveyard Hate. Playing Soul Release. Small conflict with the Imperial Iron War, but yeah, Imperial, like, this card, I think the main target is Light Swans, and in Light Swans you won't be bringing Imperial Iron Wall. Also against Frogs, this can be good to hit the 3-bond Frogs. yeah, so I think it's kind of fine. And even if you, for example, bring this against Vayu, if you have a pure Iron Wall on the field, you're in a good spot anyway. So yeah, you kind of, I don't know. It's a bit conflicting. The reason we are playing Transmigration Prophecy over a Crow is the banishing as well. But then again, Transmigration Prophecy is a trap card which conflicts with Royal Decree. So yeah, the Graveyard Hate. Maybe we have to forego the Graveyard Hate, but I usually want to have some Graveyard Hate at least. Another card which is also kind of Graveyard Hate is Zombie World, because it turns all monsters in the graveyard to zombies, which also denies some effects like Dragon's Red Mat. He doesn't get to summon from the graveyard because there are no dragons no more. Christia can't be special summoned because everything is a zombie now. Amaryllis can't come back. And then also against Amaryllis decks, Titanial gets shut off. Lone Fire Blossom gets shut off. And you can search this card with Terraforming. So yeah, Zombie World, it is a really good card in this deck. Last spell card, and this is the only card I for now have to use, because I probably, I don't know, I thought I bought a Twister, but maybe either I ordered the wrong card because I got this one instead. Can you see it? It's kind of funny because the background removal, it's the first time I'm working with a green screen. I think I overtuned the effect of turning it out because these spell cards, they are not green no more. A bit sad about that. I gotta get used to that. Yeah, I wanted to play a Twister. Why Twister? Because like the main card you want to hit is, how's it called? It's Black Whirlwind, and against Black Wings you bring 2 Royal Decrees all the time. So yeah, this card works under Royal Decree. Disaster Dragons also want to hit Future Fusion and want to bring Royal Decree. So yeah, I thought we already have 2 breakers, Base and Heavy Storm, so I think a Twister is fine. Yeah, you can't hit face down back row, which can be annoying sometimes, but it's mainly to bring in against these decks that play really broken continuous spells. Also, it can help against Royal Oppression just fine, or I think Royal Oppression is the only floodgate in that sense that helps. The only spell or trap floodgate. Okay, maybe, okay, Macrocosm as well, right? We talked about that. And level limit area B or stuff like that, but yeah, that's kind of jank. But if you play against this jank, you have a Twister. Right, and monster floodgates you want to worry about like Fossil Diners or Vanity Fiend. So yeah, for that, Book of Moon, how's it called? Forbidden Chalice, and also Mausoleum, just tribute summon something and run them over. Like, yeah, Royal Oppression is still bad for this deck because we mainly normal summon. But we have some ways to deal with that. Mole is another way, which can work out, but needs to attack, so yeah. Alright, and then for the 2 monsters in the side deck, we got 1 more of these because, like I said, it's broken. 1 of these. I gotta admit that I rarely side the 3rd breaker, and maybe like a 2nd Twister or maybe even a Dust Tornado, I don't know, would be better over it, or make room for Prohibition. Yeah, because usually, like, if your opponent has something like Whirlwind or stuff like that, you usually prefer to be able to chain something to that in their turn, so they don't get to use the effect at all. So yeah, that's about the side deck. Okay, we can still talk about matchups, and I show you some options that you could also consider, or explain why they could be good or why I don't play them. Let's talk about the matchups first. Like Skill Drain and Royal Decree, they are your main selling points. Like, they are so good in so many matchups. Skill Drain helps with Light Swans, so against Light Swans, and also you can kind of play fast, which is also good against Light Swans. You don't really care too much about Wolf because most of the monsters you're putting into play, like your normal summons, they are fine. Like if you Gear Frame, if you summoned Gear Frame and gets run over, it did his job of searching Fortress, and then everything else you summon is bigger than the Wolf. So yeah, Skill Drain as well. And also I'm thinking about including Shadow Imprisoning Mirror and Light Imprisoning Mirror alongside Prohibition, and then I'm doing that. We have 3 really good floodgates against Light Swans, and we can back them up with Prohibition. So yeah, Light Swans is a scary matchup still because JD is just broken, but yeah, I think the matchup, it is fine. Black Wings is also a surprisingly good matchup because they really hate Fortress, they really hate Gigajillion Dragon because it denies them of all their deep prisons. Yeah, they hate Royal Decree, and you don't have weak monsters that they can run over. Also this deck, like Deck Devastation Virus is just a dead card. Like we have 2 targets. Yeah, we have 1 Mole and 1 Cyber Phoenix, and in these matchups we can even side these out. Like it's not too bad. So but they will side out if they main. Okay, Blackwings are not a deck that main Deck Devastation Virus. Let's talk about Vayu instead. They will, if they realize what you're on, they should always side out the Deck Devastation Viruses. So yeah, this deck is really proof against that. Then against Vayu, I don't know, Vayu also feels like a good matchup. Like game 2, you can just skill drain them, and then you have Imperial Iron Wall, and like I said, if we also include the Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, that's just overkill. And also, if they, like, the idea of putting big monsters into play with Vayu that don't have an effect, like you don't really care about that because you are putting bigger monsters into play. Like their, how's it called? Armed Wing, the 2300 attack one. Like that's not running over stuff. That's not running over a Fortress. And yeah, so that's pretty good. Also, our grind game is, I believe, kind of as strong as their grind game, to be honest. Because, yeah, if we draw a level 8 machine, we get back a Fortress, then Fortress will run over stuff. Then the Fortress, if they destroy it by battle, will also pop something. If they destroy it with Monster Effect, we rip a card from their hand. So, yeah, also kind of not too bad as for matchup. Plants, Amaryllis. Amaryllis really hates this guy. Yeah, this just shuts Amaryllis down. Also plant decks that summon Titanial, and we don't really care about that because Ancient Gigajillion Dragon will just run over it. And if you're talking about plant decks, let's talk about Gigabytes as well. Like all these scary big boards they're making. Titanial, that's equipment spell, Power Tool Dragon, that's its name. Stardust Dragon, if they end on something like that, Gigabytes, I don't know. And you're like, oh no, most of the decks are like, oh no, I can't target, I can't destroy, I can't, we're just, okay, set Geartown. Here's an Ancient Gigajillion Dragon, we run over all your shit, bitch. So yeah, also, like, okay, yeah, this deck is really, it is still spooky because it's fast, and these plant decks, we really hate Mark of the Rose because they steal our big monsters. So I'm not saying that, like, we're easily winning these matchups, but I'm also not saying that these are bad matchups. Against Fairies, Battle Recruiters, we run them over with this guy. And then also Christia, we can kind of avoid with Mausoleum. And we have some stuff against, yeah, that's as well with Book of Moon and so on. So yeah, but Fairies can be annoying, that's for sure. Zombies, yeah, I think Zombies is, I don't know, it's a pretty even matchup. Frogs is kind of interesting because if we see Skill Drain, they are in big trouble. And yeah, it's in Frogs, it all depends on your Skill Drains, I feel like. And also, against these slower Frog decks, you can sometimes just, if they go first and leave an empty board, you can just OTK them if you drew well. So yeah, we kind of have something for every deck. Gladiator Beast, as I said, Skill Drain. How's it called? This one, Royal Decree. Sometimes I'm struggling with the English names. Royal Decree, yeah. Gladiator Beasts. Also, we're putting big monsters up. Also, we have monsters that don't care about their battle traps because, like I said, Ancient Geartown Dragon, he doesn't care about, like, yeah, sure, they can still activate their Babuku or stuff like that before we are attacking. But they can't do it like, oh, you're attacking, now I protect it, now I get the effect. No, that's not going to happen with Ancient Geartown Dragon. And also, if you want to pop Fortress with a more Millow, is it more Millow? The blue one? You get to rip one card from their hands and special summon all these big monsters all the time. So yeah, that's also really, I think that's even a winning matchup. Like, I'm not saying like this is the best deck in the meta because the main issue it still has is consistency. But this deck, it can keep up with every meta deck and it can beat every meta deck. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not good enough yet to fully, to play it well and to pilot it well enough. I don't know. Maybe there are some minor changes that still need to happen in this deck to truly break into the meta. But I think this deck can do really well in the meta. And who knows? Maybe someone will take it higher up. Like, I don't doubt this potential. Like, you have so much nasty stuff for all matchups. Like, in every matchup, you have something nasty. Like, in almost every matchup. So yeah. I don't know. I predict this deck is not weak. It is not weak. And it's a lot of fun to play. Like, you special summoning all these big guys. It feels so good. I think, yeah, maybe is it the Cyber Dragon, but even against Cyber Dragon, you cannot play around that as well. Okay, now that we've talked about the matchups, let's talk about some of the options. Like I said, I started off with small level 8s that you could get with Mausoleum or with Light and Darkness Dragon, the creator, and you can go back to this route. You get really a lot of sack potential. Also, Christia can be another broken floodgate to utilize, another win con on its own. But yeah, for consistency's sake, I decided against that. But it's a version of the deck that is still functioning and scary. You could play this one to kind of, ensure you can overcommit to the board and go for your big pushes, the OTK lines. This one, mid and late game, it can be really good as well because getting a field spell back usually means summoning another Ancient Geartown Dragon machine that can be pitched for Fortress. But the issue I have with it is that in the opening hand, it's usually a bad card to draw, like, because if you don't have a field spell in your graveyard yet, it's not useful at all unless you can ditch it for a Fortress in hand. So, and I wanted to make this deck more consistent, like I said, so got rid of that. This one you could play in the side deck in certain matchups, but because you can summon it with Mausoleum, but that implies your opponent can use the Mausoleum themselves. And also you can special summon, so maybe the other one, the Vanities, is it Emptiness, level 8, and only your opponent cannot special summon, because that one you can also pitch with Traitor, so yeah, or you just go for Christia in the side. I have had Christia in the side before. This one, I'm only not playing because of Royal Decree at the moment, but it's so good that I'm considered putting it back in. Helps you solve or deal with a lot of problem cards. Kind of like a Book of Moon, but in some instances it's even better because you can also, that helps with OTKs, bounce their set monster. Can also activate it while you attack with Ancient Geartown Dragon, so your opponent can't even react to that. A lot of stuff you can do with this card. You can save your Fortress, but then you still have to pay cost to special summon it again, so I'm not too convinced about that. But Gear Frame, you can reuse the Gear Frame effect, but Gear Frame ever gets targeted by Deep Prison or stuff like that, I'm usually fine with that, but because that means my opponent just wasted one resource that they could have used on Fortress. Another card that I highly considered in the side deck because it helps. It's always good because gets rid of, I don't know, a lot of cards, and also it can protect you from Cyber Dragon. Speaking of Cyber Dragon, you could play a Cyber Dragon yourself. Personally, I don't like it because I'm always like, yeah, you can pitch it to Fortress, but I can pitch other cards to Fortress. Also, I'm already special summoning big guys all the time, and I don't want to get even more weak to Christia, Royal Oppression, and that stuff. And also, if I want to make a push, you can't do a push with Cyber Dragon and the Fortress and then just pass the turn, because then your opponent will just fusion summon them off. So that's not working out. Like I said, we don't play too many normal summons, so we would have room for more normal summons. The Warrior Lady is something, could help with problem cards as well, but it's banishing, and we're playing how's it called, Imperial Iron Wall, so that's the reason for me to not play her. I talked about these two cards. I might include them. I will do some testing with them in the side as well. See if it's overkill, because sometimes you don't want to get bricked on too many floodgates. Like 1 or 2 at maximum is usually enough to have at any given moment in time. But could be like, with these two you're hitting a lot of the meta, and especially if you go the Prohibition route, could be nice. This one, extreme sack potential in conjunction with limiter removal. Or let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that if you activate Megamorph first, the monster just doubles its base attack, and then the limiter removal will still double the attack. But if you do it the other way around, then nothing will happen, because this just says it gets double of the original attack. So let me know in the comments if you know that better than I do. But I believe if you Megamorph first and then you limit removal, you get 4 times the attack. Gigantus, another card, special summons itself. You play a lot of Earth, like almost all your monsters are Earth. But I think only the Breakers aren't, if I'm not, and the Cyber Phoenix, but that's about it. Light and Darkness Dragon. Okay, and not all the monsters are Earth, but your main engine is Earth, so you usually don't have to wait too long. But then again, like I said, we don't play too many normal summons, so our starting hand can brick, and in that case, this would help either. First off. Second off, like game 2, that you can't, like your opponent when they run it over, it destroys everything, every spell and trap cards on the field if you have all these floodgates out. Yeah, and then also, beside crashing it and popping its own Geartown, which if they have Deep Prison, then it doesn't even get crashed. Like, it's kind of awkward and doesn't do too much, and we don't really need the special summon for anything. Like, we could tribute it for a Gear Gachillion Dragon or Gear Golem under Geartown, which could be okay, but I think that's not worth the payoff. This one, you would think it is good with all the OTK potential, but the OTKs need us to set Geartowns, and you can't set spells and traps under this. So that doesn't work out. Here's another card which is just like Mole, Warrior Lady, or Warrior Lady is normal summon spot removal that doesn't banishes, so it has some merit over Warrior Lady, but I would say that Warrior Lady is still better. But you could do this theoretically, but I don't think it's worth it. Spot removal. Holy hell, can you still see this card? A Soul Taker, you could play Soul Taker, or it targets us. It targets, that's a negative. But you can choose the target, that's positive, like if we compare it with Smashing Ground. And then it also makes certain cards miss timing. Like, for example, a Duped Frog will miss timing because this card says after the destruction, your opponent gains 1000 LP. So, yeah, that makes it kind of interesting, but against Titanial and stuff, you can't use that because the target, so a Smashing Ground could be a better option. Here we have a Smashing Ground. Then this one could be a normal summon because it's a really funny union monster that prevents destruction. And when you run something over, you get to draw a card, but maybe Peacekeeper would be better, which I ironically don't even have here in my other cards. What else? This one I played for a bit and I might re-add it because, can you see this? Because this one is really nice. If you draw a fortress and you have this card, you can pitch the fortress, get back a level 8, and then pitch that level 8 to special summon the fortress that you just pitched from grave. So yeah, that's a really good interaction. Also, if you, I don't know, draw your second Imperial Iron Wall or stuff like that, you can pitch that to get back a level 8. And if you have trade-in, you just make your second Floodgate into a trade-in target, basically. But also, like with other normal summons, from which I called not fast enough, like not good enough in the starting hand, this can also be not that good in the starting hand, but at least it has 1800 attack, so it's a bit better in that regard. Then I think, how is this called in English? Is it just Metal Morph? No, it's called something else. Can predict your machines from spell cards, but only from targeted spell cards. Can be good against, like, I think you should, I don't know, if you play against Monarchs and they are on like triple soul exchange, or if you play against plant decks with the Mark of the Rose, this could be useful. Also, your monster gains 500 attack, so for hitting or for running over Golems, Ancient Fairies, Dragon and that stuff, it can be useful, but I think it's too narrow in its use cases, so I don't play this. Let's talk about this first. Also a really good card because, you have always really good targets in grave, but with the other cards, the normal summons that only that interact with the graveyard, it's not good in your starting hand. So that's my main issue. Issue number 1. Issue number 2 is it's a trap, so it conflicts with Royal Decree. And is there anything else? I think these are the 2 issues, right? It's not that good turn 1. It's not good. And the third issue is it's another special summoning, and I don't want it to overload myself in special summoning too, because this deck still, the biggest threat is still Royal Oppression and that stuff, and this doesn't work under Royal Oppression, so that's why I don't play it. If you want to play it, you might consider Giant Trunade to recycle it. Holy hell, the green screen. The green screen remove it's not working probably. Oh no. Giant Trunade, recycle that. Also helps with the OTK lines, helps with Royal Oppression, helps with, I don't know. It helps with recycling your gear frame, which is also an interesting interaction you have there. It also helps with if you have a Mausoleum and you use that and now you draw a gear frame, not a gear frame, a Geartown. You can do stuff like activate Giant Trunade, get rid of their traps, and also get your Mausoleum back in hand, set the Geartown, set the Mausoleum, get the Gajillion Dragon, now it's safe from the traps, and you were able to use your Mausoleum again to pop the Geartown. That's some nice stuff that you can do, and you don't even lose the Mausoleum. You could play more of these, but like I said, can be bricks as well if you don't draw them with Geartown. Dust Tornado, another card. For Dust Tornado, like I said, I prefer Twister because it doesn't conflict with the Royal Decree. With that said, there is some merit for Dust Tornado, though there's a case for it. Be better, not only that it can hit set, spell, and trap cards, which can be useful as well if you want to go for a game and they set it lone trap, you can just activate this in the end phase. You can also use this on your own mausoleum if your opponent ever wants, like if they are paying 2000 life points to summon one of their own monsters, especially in top deck situations, you can just let them hit 2000 for cost and then hit your own mausoleum to deny them the summon. Yeah, that's something you can do, but you use like you go -2 card advantage, but you gain so much tempo in top deck situations, stuff like that can be worth it. Also, the second effect that you can set a spell or trap card, you can use that to trigger a Geartown on your opponent's turn, which can sometimes be useful, but yeah, only sometimes. Last but not least, okay, not last, you have 2 more cards. Let's talk about these first. These two, Overload Fusion and Jinzo are good, but they kind of make a new deck out of it. And just seeing these, same as gadgets, you can totally play a Machina gadget deck. You can even play it with Geartown and Gajillion Dragons. I have a version like that, and I will showcase that in the future as well, because that deck is really, really scary as well. Plays a bit different, but yeah, then you have another deck, in my opinion. And now, last but not least, this card to me is a false prophet. Like, I was, for the longest time, like, when I first saw this card, I had it in my side and I was like, how could anyone think that this card is bad and that you shouldn't play this? But, yeah, because it's this searchable, not only searchable, but you can special summon it from your deck. Like, so I was like, okay, whenever I'm playing against jank or stuff like that, I have an ancient spear engineer, and that will just fuck them over completely, because I can just tutor that out and get rid of all their pesky floodgates, backrows, stuff, whatever. But then I realized something, because if your opponent is on Macrocosm, you can't even use that. Like, you can, you can normal summon it under Geartown, so that's still good. But you can't tutor it, because the main reason I said this card was good, was that it is tutorable. But under Macrocosm, your Geartowns don't hit the graveyard. You have problems with Royal Oppression. Can't get this with Geartown as well, because they will just pay 800 and deny you the special summoning. And yeah, you have probably, like, your opponent's on jank, and they have Messenger of Peace, they have level limit area, they have Gravity Bind, can't attack, can't destroy. So yeah, against Black Wings, where you want to pop a Whirlwind with this, Black Wings usually have big monsters. Also, you don't want to summon something weak, because they hit it over with Shura, so it's not that good in that matchup either. So yeah, like, everything I wanted this card to do, it kind of doesn't do. So I cut it from my sideboard for that reason. Okay, I think that's it for the list. Again, thank you all for 100 subscribers. I would think of other special things to do at other milestones, and will probably let you know in the video. Then I will also upload in some days probably, I will upload some replays from the deck to show you how strong it really is. And yeah, with that being said, if you want to see that, if you want to see more crazy decks I built, I have a lot more decks that are kind of good, or are really funny and janky, but really fun to play and really interesting in concepts, that are kind of new, and concepts that are underexplored and might have a lot of potential, even though I only came up with the crazy idea but haven't unlocked the potential. So yeah, if you're interested in that, if you're interested in Edison format, consider subscribing, because my channel is really small at the moment. So you might not see any other videos from me if you don't subscribe. Consider leaving a like, because it would help me out with the algorithm a lot. And also, leave me a comment, because I'm interested. What is the deck that you built as a homebrew? Like, an idea that developed over time, something you came up with yourself. And not just I played some spicy tech cards, like 2 or 3 tech cards in Light Swans, but a really deck that you built on your own. Like, I know this deck, it exists in similar form, but I built this 2 years ago, and back then I haven't seen it. When I built this, I came up with this myself. Like, yeah, sure, I took some inspiration with like Geartowns and with the Machinas, but Machinas plus Gigajillion Dragons, I haven't seen anyone do this. So yeah, I take some credit into my creative process here, even though I know I didn't invent the wheel or it wasn't that special. Like other people came up with this as well, and I don't want to take anything from anyone else. I just wanted to say that I had fun building this deck on my own, and I'm proud of this creation because it is really fun to play and it is kind of strong and this is really nasty game 2 and game 3. So yeah, let me know what decks did you build because I love to read about ideas in Edison and I love to think about them. I love to experiment with them. And yeah, so do that. And then see you in the next video and have a good one. Bye.